So Donald Trump and his lawyers got caught in a huge lie today in the New York City criminal case against Donald Trump. One of their defenses of Trump that they saw as a winning argument for the jury completely crumbled before our eyes. What a beautiful thing. The prosecution did such an amazing job poking holes in this story that Trump and his lawyers tried to tell to the jury. And now, well, that defense has gone out of the window. So to give you some context about what I'm talking about, last week, Michael Cohen, the star witness in this case, testified about an October 24th, 2016 phone call, which Cohen claims that he called Donald Trump through Trump's bodyguard to confirm to him that the Stormy Daniels deal, the hush money payment, was finalized. That everything was taken care of. There's nothing to worry about. It's all good. Right? And he called Donald Trump's bodyguard, who was with him, and the bodyguard and Trump were both on the phone. They talked about a variety of things, but mainly the Stormy Daniels deal, right? So, of course, that implicates Donald Trump in the crime. It shows that he knew about the hush money payment, that he was very involved in the hush money payment to the point that he was being kept abreast of the developments in the hush money payment. And so the defense obviously had to push back, and they tried. This is a big point that they tried to really push back on. So Todd Blanche, Donald Trump's lawyer, put forward another possible reason for the call, and he did so in a very aggressive way toward Michael Cohen, even calling him a liar and things like that. And this is from a Politico article written about this exchange. So the other day, however, Blanche presented Cohen with evidence that Cohen, in the days prior to the call, had received dozens of harassing phone calls from a 14-year-old, and that on the evening of October 24th, he texted Schiller, the bodyguard, to inform him of the calls. Minutes later, according to the evidence, Schiller left Cohen a voicemail, and then Cohen called him back with a call that lasted 1 minute and 36 seconds. So you can kind of see what they're going for already, that they're trying to paint this phone call as only about those harassing messages that Cohen was receiving. Except Cohen says otherwise. But the article goes on to say, moments later, Cohen texted Schiller the number of the person who had been placing the harassing phone calls. Blanche pressed Cohen about his testimony that the call was with Trump about Daniels and not with Schiller about the harassing phone calls. Blanche said, quote, "That was a lie," his voice rising and his tone sharp. So Blanche is basically saying, look, no, you didn't talk with Donald Trump about the Stormy Daniels payment. You talked with Donald Trump's bodyguard about these harassing phone calls that you were getting from this supposed 14-year-old, and you texted him his number to take action on it, right? And he was even saying that Donald Trump wasn't even with the bodyguard. You only talked to the bodyguard. That's what Todd Blanche was saying, along with Donald Trump's lawyer was saying as his version of the story. Except the prosecution had something to say about that today in trial. So what did the prosecution do? Well, they had a photo of Donald Trump and his bodyguard together that evening, just moments before the supposed phone call. As you can see, this journalist confirms this appears to be C-SPAN footage showing Schiller and Trump side by side at October 24th event that took place in 2016. How much hush money conversation can Cohen have in just 96 seconds, which was the length of the phone call? The Trump-McDougal audio took only 47 seconds, of which they discussed the hush money payment there. But this is the picture on your screen right now. The man in the red tie behind Donald Trump, that's his bodyguard at the time. And that was that evening that they had that conversation about the hush money payment. So Donald Trump's lawyer was saying that, no, you only talked to the bodyguard. Trump wasn't even there. However, Michael Cohen's testimony was just corroborated by a photo of Donald Trump and his bodyguard together that evening, showing that Michael Cohen's testimony is actually true, that they were both in close proximity, and that it's far more likely now, based on Cohen's testimony, that they actually did talk together, as opposed to Todd Blanche's theory, which blew up in his face, that Donald Trump wasn't even there that evening, and that he only talked to the bodyguard. Insane. Todd Blanche completely failed. He flopped face first on this theory. He thought he got a one-up, saying, no, you were talking about the messages you were receiving from that 14-year-old. You didn't talk about the hush money payment. And the media went wild, and these conservative figures in the media went wild, saying this is the turning point for Trump's defense. They showed that Michael Cohen's a liar, except he's not. They proved that Trump was with the bodyguard that evening via a photo from a C-SPAN video. A crucial point of Trump's defense just crumbled, just completely collapsed. So we now know that one of their main theories of this defense, saying that this phone call never happened, it wasn't as described, got debunked. That's one of their main pillars of their defense gone. But this was not the only piece of chaos that took place in the courtroom today, because Donald Trump's lawyers, probably at the direction of Donald Trump, quite frankly, called their last and final witness for the defense, meaning that Donald Trump's, of course, not testifying, but we knew that already. But they called their final witness, Robert Costello, another lawyer who had connections to Michael Cohen. Now, this was a questionable witness to call, given the validity of his claims, and he was just testifying in front of the Republicans. And of course, it gives the DA and his team the opportunity to question him as well. But it just went as badly as you would expect. Just a complete blow up in the face of the Trump defense. So during his testimony today, Robert Costello got admonished by Judge Merchan for completely having no decorum in the courtroom. Like, for example, Costello would answer questions that were already objected to and sustained. And as you can see on your screen right now, as reported by journalist Katie Fang from MSNBC, Merchan said, "I'd like to discuss proper decorum in my courtroom. If you don't like my ruling, you don't say geez," which Robert Costello did. You don't say strike it, because I'm the only one who can strike it, as Robert Costello also did. And you don't give me the side eye and don't roll your eyes, as he did as well. So Robert Costello was kind of chirping at the judge, giving him a side eye, trying to stare him down. So much so that the judge cleared the courtroom. Which, of course, as of now, we don't have the transcripts yet, but as of now, we don't know what was said. The press was removed, the jury was removed, virtually the entire courtroom was removed except for the relevant people to the trial. But Costello was such a disaster that the judge had to kick people out of the courtroom to say, "Hey, buddy, get back on track. You're not answering questions properly. You're not listening to court instructions. You're not respecting my court." And the jury saw a bit of this, not all of it, but they saw a bit of it, which is like very bad for the Trump defense. You're seeing this last witness, a guy who's meant to be testifying in his defense, getting chirpy with the judge and speaking poorly to the prosecutors. Just a very bad moment for your defense witness, the guy you're bringing on as your last witness to kind of hammer your point home, and he's screaming at the judge and he's being disrespectful in the courtroom. Kind of completely destroys his credibility as a witness. So anyway, just a very bad day for Donald Trump and his lawyers in the courtroom today. Just very bad. Your defense is falling apart. Your witnesses are going back and forth with the judge, so much so that the courtroom was cleared. I mean, this day probably couldn't have gone worse for Trump and his lawyers, so we'll have to see whether that has a massive impact on the jury and hopefully getting a verdict next week at some point. So I'll leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. I greatly appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe down below. It goes such a long way. Also, drop a like on the video, comment, let me know what you think about all this. Do you think that the jury will take this into consideration? Do you think they won't? I'm curious. Of course, share the video with anybody you think needs to see it. And as always, I appreciate you, and I hope you have an amazing rest of your day.